Good evening and welcome to the book launch for the amazing new book, Culture Clash, a guide for Filipino immigrants raising American children by Lutie Orteza Lee. I am so excited to be hosting this amazing time with you this evening. We'll have an opportunity to hear from Lutie. We'll hear a bit from the book as she will read for us and share the insights that she has gleaned. Lutie has spent her entire career researching and developing the cross-cultural tools to understand and diffuse the culture clashes that exist between her mother country, the Philippines, and raising an American child. Lutie has a bachelor's degree in science from Silliman University in the Philippines and 2 Masters of Arts degrees, first from Pacific Oaks College and the other from Claremont College School of Theology. She spent 30 years as an elementary school teacher and worked in the Philippines, Taiwan, Hawaii, California, and New York. She was the Minister for Children and Family Programs for the United Church of Christ in its national setting. She conducted 200 plus interviews with immigrant families and their teenage young adult American children around the country. She gives workshops and seminars domestically and globally, covering this very topic. She held an advice column called Dear Tita Lee in the Filipino newspaper Balik. Her knowledge and understanding is from a lifetime of living it, studying it, and teaching it. I'm so excited to be here with you as your host. I'm Paul Sadler, and I'm overjoyed to have the opportunity of presenting and introducing to you our author for the evening, Lutie Orteza Lee. Culture Clash has been published for us by Anchor Book Press, which derives its name from being anchored in the faith and specializes in informative and uplifting books by new authors. If you're interested in more books by Anchor Book Press, please go to their website, anchorbookpress.com. And while you're searching the internet, we want you to absolutely go to Lutie's new website, cultureclashcoach.com. That's cultureclashcoach.com, where you'll find more information about how you can purchase the book, how you can reach out to Lutie and ask her your questions at a later date, and how you can bring Lutie to your city or have a Zoom conversation with her to gain some of the insights that Lutie has gained through her many, many years of research and study in this area. I'm so excited to present to all of us tonight, Lutie Orteza Lee. Good evening, Lutie, and welcome to this exciting book launch this evening.
Good evening, Paul, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming to my book launch debut.
Well, Lutie, I want to just get started right away and get into the meat of Culture Clash. Why did you write this book?
Oh, Paul, I can give you many reasons why I wrote the book, but I have a favorite one, and I'm going to read it right from the introduction part. So everyone, listen. It's on page 2. 32 years ago, as I walked back and forth through the aisles of Borders, Barnes & Noble, and B. Dalton bookstores, frantically looking for culture clash-related books, I found nothing that would address what I was facing with my rebellious teenager. Standing alone in the Borders aisle, I vowed that one day I would write a book that would provide answers to my questions. I really did not know what shape the book would take, but here it is, 32 years later, I want to believe that there are desperate Filipino parents living in the USA needing answers, and this book could provide answers for them. Someone queried why my title is not inclusive of other cultures. As a Filipino, I use experiences and examples that are not inclusive. However, many of the concepts could be adapted for various cultures, but to explicitly include other cultures would result in a book that would be much too long. Further, to use an inclusive title without changing content would mislead those who are considering my book. I am not an expert in other cultures. I needed a Filipino-related culture book rooted in the US context. Yet, there was none. So, that is the book I wrote. According to UN census, 4 million Filipino-Americans reside here. This book addresses their issues explicitly. Others can glean truth that will benefit all cultures. There's my why story, folks.
Wow, Lutie, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that with us and with our audience tonight. Lutie, if there were one highlight from the book that you would want your reader to take away from reading Culture Clash, what would that be?
Number one is a very simple concept in communication, and I call it listening. See, it's simple. We strive to listen with our heart when it comes to culture clash scenarios. It is a humbling act. The ego, listening with our ego, brings out our arrogance and self-righteousness. The ego is never wrong. My daughter and I learned this firsthand. One day I suddenly have this aha moment, and I said to myself, oh my goodness, if I will silence my child, then she will grow up not feeling empowered. So I taught myself to listen to her with my heart. Even I didn't like what she was telling me and expressing to me. So when I really listened, she noticed that I was really listening. She started feeling heard. So she would reply to me in a way that I would start feeling heard by her. So we were going back and forth this way. And you know what happens when you really feel heard? It's a human need to want to be heard, isn't it? You want to be heard yourself. Yeah. We started to feel that tension was going away. And that it doesn't matter that the problem is not solved, because love was being felt in the air. And then it was so easy to say, Bing, I'm so sorry. Then she would say it back, not that same setting, but in another occasion. And so as time went by, that's where I got the insight that, oh my God, it's all the simple act of listening with our hearts. And let me read from the book. If you have the book, it's on page 97. When our Americanized young adults do not feel heard when an argument occurs, deep-seated resentment may develop toward the mother or father. Then tolerance for mistakes has a short circuit. Tempers flare easily. One college student said that all he wanted was to hear his parents say, "I'm sorry," sometimes. It would make a difference. He sighed. Sadly, he said, his parents will always justify their behavior as right, and he is wrong. Parents, how many of you could really bring yourself to say, "I am sorry," to a son or daughter? Perhaps if we practice listening with our hearts, we may hear their moans and their groans. And if they do likewise, they will also hear ours. It is a humbling act to listen with a heart, because I have done it. What's magical is that the need to be right does not matter anymore. It seems to imply that humility is to the heart what arrogance is to the mind. Why? The mind is protective of its ego. The ego must be right all the time. The ego does not know how to say, "I am sorry." The mind is knowledgeable and hates to be wrong. That's the one takeaway that I hope my readers would find when they read the book, Paul.
Lutie, that is powerful. That is so, so powerful. I just want to take a minute and encourage everyone who is listening to prepare a question if you have one, because after Lutie finishes sharing with us, we're going to have the opportunity for each of you to ask a question. So you can write your question in the chat or in the Q&A section on this webinar. You can write it right into the Q&A, and we will do our best to get Lutie to answer as many questions as possible. So please be preparing your questions as we're listening to these pearls of wisdom that Lutie is sharing with us. Lutie, there's so many profound insights, and as I read the book myself, though I am not Filipino, found that the concepts and the principles in this book are transferable. They are transferable. So you have accomplished your goal of reaching other cultures as well. I really, really believe that there are nuggets of gold in this book. And there was something in the book that you talked about called the diamond rule. And I would love for you to expand on that concept for our audience tonight.
This reminds me when I told a friend about my diamond rule, and she said, "You don't dare debunk our golden rule." I said, "No, I'm not really debunking golden rule. I'm just trying to break the myth that golden rule applies to all human behavior. I found out it doesn't work when two cultures do not share the same values, the same traditions, the same practices, the same assumptions. Oh my goodness, it's a breeding ground for culture clash. And that's what happened to me with my daughter. One day I thought, oh my goodness, my daughter is not Filipino, she's American. I'm dealing with an American child every day. Her values, her assumptions, her worldviews, her everything is not Filipino. So we will constantly have a clash. I have got to do something about it. This golden rule doesn't work. I started telling myself that. And so I suddenly have an aha moment that if I can do some tweaking with the golden rule, I can come up with something that would help me zero in to her perspective. And so I did some thinking and I came up with this: do unto others as they would have you do unto them. Meaning they want you to apply their assumptions, their traditions, their values to them. Because the golden rule is a very reciprocal. I do to you what you do to me. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So I called it golden rule. My culture class experience with my American daughter gave birth to the diamond rule. My daughter raised my awareness of our conflicting cultural values and assumptions. So as I stared at the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, an aha moment came to me. While it implies consideration of needs, we do not share the same culture. I discovered that changing a couple of pronouns could produce the opposite effect, forcing my focus on the intent of the golden rule that is so often missed. Presto! This was what I was looking for, and I named it the diamond rule. Do unto others as they would have you do unto them. The golden rule allows the focus to be self-centered. What would I want in the situation? Whereas the diamond rule forces me to focus on others' perspective. It is easy to miss the intent of the rule. What would I want if I were in their shoes? The golden rule from a cross-cultural perspective becomes the diamond rule, which states explicitly that it should be what the other person wants. Therefore, the diamond rule becomes our guidepost in keeping us alert to a potential culture clash. And another statement that I started saying is the diamond rule is the flip side of the golden rule. There is my second take for my readers. And I hope that the diamond rule will also reach the level of being a household name, the way we say the golden rule. Therefore, folks, when it comes to culture clash, think diamond.
Awesome. That's great, Lutie. The diamond rule. That takes us to another level. I love to go to the next level, and that's taking us from the golden rule to the diamond rule. It's just yet another level. I want to remind everybody that as you visit the website, cultureclasscoach.com, you can take the opportunity to sign up for Lutie's newsletter and read all of the advice that comes from the Dear Tita column. We want you to take that opportunity as well. And if you haven't purchased your book, again, you can purchase it on the website as well. If you know someone who you would have loved to have been on this webinar tonight, but they were unable for whatever reason to be with us, we are recording this webinar tonight. So they will be able to listen to this webinar later on. And then finally, please follow Lutie on social media. If you look on the website, you'll find all Lutie's social media handles, and they'll be on the screen at the end of this webinar. Just wanted to remind you of a few things. Lutie, some questions are already coming in. And
before can I interrupt?
Oh, you certainly can.
Yeah, because I missed this very important statement.
Okay.
It says here, above the diamond rule, though, let us follow Jesus' take on the golden rule. Love your neighbor as yourself. Even if we fail to adhere to golden and diamond rules in crossing cultures to achieve better relationships, Jesus' words might yet be our saving grace to avoid culture clash.
Wow, awesome. That's tremendous. We would not have wanted to have missed that. That's such a blessing. Some of the questions that are coming in are very, very.
We're ready for our questions, Paul.
You know, I think that the folks who are listening are eager, and I just want to let you know that there have been many wonderful complimentary comments coming in from your classmates at Silliman University and are celebrating you and lifting you up, and they're so proud of you. And I just want you to know that, because you're not able to see the comments, that I am just overjoyed that they've come in, and we're hearing all kinds of wonderful comments coming in from your classmates at Silliman University, and go Silliman University. So let's begin with a question. I'm going to ask this question. So Lutie, what do you think that parents are most concerned about for their children as they grow up within the Western culture? What do you think that parents are most concerned about for their children?
That the parents will not, that their children who are growing up in the United States will not lose the ability to respect, to show respect to them and to anywhere. In fact, that is my concern also as a Lola to my apo, to my grandson, because he's starting early already. He's American little 3-year-old who told me one night I was putting him to sleep. He doesn't want to sleep. He's 3 years old, and then he looked at me, and then with his fingers told me, "You get out of my room right now." He said that to his mommy too. And then I said, "You don't talk that way." And then he looked at me and said, "Why?"
All right. So,
and respect is very important to us.
It's key. I totally agree. It's key. Lutie, someone has asked, and I think it's someone you know well, Linda Peavy, has asked, how does it feel to be done with the book?
To what? To download?
To be done with the book, to be finished.
Oh, to be done?
Yes.
Oh my goodness, Linda, I felt like the captain reached the destination after going through the rough seas and finally made it safe in the seashore. That's my feeling. Wow, hallelujah. I made it safely, because there were many incidents that I thought I would drown with my ship.
Lutie, one of our viewers tonight wants to know, where in the Philippines are you from? And how long have you been living in the US?
Well, I was born in the city of Butuan in Mindanao, the southern part of the Philippines. However, I did not really grow up in Butuan, in our little village called Albiola Village, because my parents, my father was a minister, a pastor. We go many churches. We went to Cagayan de Oro, we went to Cabadbaran, we went to Cebu, and then we stayed the longest in Los Baños, the university campus of the University of the Philippines at Los Baños. So I consider Los Baños like my hometown, because that's where I graduated with my high school. And I hope my high school classmates are watching me right now. So my hometown is Los Baños, not Butuan.
How long have you been living in the US?
We moved here in 1980, more than 30 years ago.
And our viewer wants to know, is your daughter your only child?
She is my only child, my one and only. that I thought I would have lost to a bad group of friends. And I have to move heaven and earth to steer her away from that bad company. And so I dropped my profession like a hot potato. I dropped it literally. I went to personnel and said, I'm sorry, but I have to leave. I'm resigning. And left and moved to the East Coast.
Okay. So Lutie, parenting was then number one for you, was it not?
Yes, that became my focus. I have no time for men. After her dad and I divorced, my focus was on her.
Well, that is good. Your focus was what has served well, because your daughter is a wonderful, wonderful, talented, gifted young woman, just like her mother. And so we are grateful for the insights that you gained from your experiences and that you put in this great book, Culture Clash. I wanted to ask a question that one of our viewers tonight has asked. And they asked, Lutie, if you and I, this is kind of putting both of us on the spot, but we're going to try it. If you and I would role play the diamond rule for our audience.
Oh, okay. I will, okay. A Filipino party, and you're American.
Okay.
Okay, so shoot. You're American, and what will you do without food? It's time for you to leave.
Okay. All right. So
in the party.
Okay. So now for me, I'm just gonna go ahead and leave, and I'm not gonna ask for any food or take anything home. But so what would you do, Lutie, that would be different?
Oh, I will be so offended, Paul. You didn't like our food? You don't want to bring some food home?
Oh, so I should ask for food.
That's our tradition.
It's the tradition.
The leftovers is for you to take home.
Aha. So that's an important thing to learn, because I could go somewhere and offend somebody not knowing it, because I did not know how to treat them, as the diamond rule teaches us. And now that I know, I'll be sure to ask for some of your good cooking the next time I visit your home. I will take some home with me. Indeed, that's an aha moment. One of our viewers has shared. That's indeed what it is.
I want to add something. Oh, and then I hope my daughter will forgive me, because she actually has a direct culture clash about our tradition of wrapping food when, for leftovers. And so I hope Bing, please forgive me. But this is very important. She was in college and she could not attend the party. And so she asked her friend, her American friend, who was going to an American party, and said that, could you bring a plate full of food for me? Because she was writing her papers. And so her friend looked at her with very big eyes and told her, like, bang, I can't do that. I'd be embarrassed. And that's weird. And so the next thing, she called me in Claremont. I was in seminary, and then she asked me, Mom, is it a Filipino thing to wrap food after a party? I said, of course, why? And then she told me what happened. I said, Mom, I grew up wrapping food, and I thought that's just true to everybody. That's the practice. So there's your golden rule story, diamond rule story for you.
Indeed, indeed. Lutie, when I lived in New Orleans many years ago, I had to learn a similar kind of tradition. If you went to visit a home in New Orleans, in Louisiana, here in the United States, and people offered you food, whether you just had dinner, no matter what time of day it was, if you had just come from a restaurant, it didn't matter. If they offered you food, you would say, yes, thank you, and sit down and eat. Because not to eat, just as you shared with us in New Orleans, is truly, truly an insult to the family. It's an insult to the house. So you absolutely have to take food. You have to eat. You have to sit down and eat. So I can relate to that part of the culture. Absolutely. No doubt.
And in the Philippines, we are so delighted when the Peace Corps volunteers, the Americans, they learn how to speak our language like a Filipino, because that's the diamond rule that he is applying there. I can give you some friends that I made that, oh my goodness, they speak perfect Tagalog. So, and then for us here in America, we are doing it all the time. We are applying diamond rule all the time when we go out there in the mainstream society. Come on, folks, we have to be Americans. We have to observe the core values in America. We have no choice. There's the saying, when in Rome, do as the Romans do.
Yes, yes.
I hope that my diamond rule gives meaning to when in Rome, do as the Romans do. That's what it's all about. And so with the Americans, when they go abroad, they go to the Philippines and they have to apply the diamond rule there and, put aside your American ways.
One of our viewers, Robin Rivera, just shared with us, in Latin culture, if you are offered a cup of coffee and you don't take it, it is an insult. So there are a lot of commonalities in our various cultures around hospitality. So the diamond rule is, once again, Lutie, another one of your principles is universal. So we are all blessed by the insights and the principles and the guiding thoughts that we gain, and the wisdom and the nuggets of wisdom that we get from Culture Clash. It's just, I think it is a great book that is helping us. It is going to offer, again, not only those who are of Filipino descent, but all of us who may read Culture Clash. It's going to help all of us to relate to one another better. And again, I'm stuck on the diamond rule. That's a great
diamond rule.
I'm going to go away from tonight using the diamond rule. And I also want to share with our viewers tonight that several years ago, Lutie came to Mount Zion Congregational Church, where I serve, and preached one of the most memorable sermons, probably in the history of Mount Zion. I don't know a sermon that has been more quoted, a sermon that has been mentioned by more of our members, remembering and recollecting the insights that they gleaned from it. And in that question, in that sermon, you asked the question, is the life that I am living the life that wants to live in me? Yes, yes, yes. That, and when I say that poignant question stuck with us and caused us to think. And I find, as I look at Culture Clash, I find that same kind of wisdom in this book. It is here. It is in this book for all of us. And if we just read it, if we just inhale all that is here, and I believe that this book has the ability to transform our lives. And so I am excited. I'm excited that we're launching this book tonight. I'm excited, Lutie, that you have decided at this point in your life. You told me how old you are, but you look so many years younger than that, so we won't even talk about that. But you have, at a pivotal point in your life, chosen to take the wisdom that God has blessed you with and to put pen to paper and to take that wisdom and share it with the world. And I think that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. I think it is extraordinary that you have done that and that you have shared this wisdom with all of those who would have the benefit of reading Culture Clash. Now, I want to again remind everyone of the website, cultureclashcoach.com. Please go to cultureclashcoach.com, sign up for the newsletter. If you haven't purchased your book, purchase your book there. And I also want to remind everyone that as of today, that on Amazon, Culture Clash is available as in a Kindle form, so that you can get the Kindle form on Amazon today, and you can have it and read it on your computer, on your smartphone, or wherever you, on your laptop, your iPad, wherever you might be, you'll be able to read that. So I want to encourage folks to go to Amazon.com and download the Kindle as well. But it's so important. You know, I'm old school. I like to have a book in my hand, Lutie. There's nothing like it. I like to have a book in my hand. And so I want to encourage folks to get this book, because you're going to want to read it over and over and over again. And then you're going to give it away so many times. That's the thing that's going to happen. You're going to give this book to a friend who is dealing with a culture clash in their life, and they're going to give it to someone else, and you'll be buying the books over and over and over again. So I strongly encourage you to get your books. Go to our website, go to Lutie's website, get your books, cultureclashcoach.com. Lutie, do you have any concluding comments that you want to share with all of your viewers tonight?
Yes. My concluding comments is that I want to ask this question: if you have heard or have read a book called Number One. Have you read the book called Number One?
Lutie, I have not. I wonder if any of our viewers have read it. I have not read Number One.
Okay, Number One book goes this way. It only takes a number one song to make a difference. The number one poem to make a difference. The number one book to make a difference. It just takes number one music to make a difference. And I hope that this book of mine, Culture Clash, will become a number one book when it comes to culture clash, because it's applicable worldwide, and that the diamond rule will become a household name in the same way we say the golden rule. That's the take I hope that everyone will bring to the table.
Tremendous, tremendous. Lutie, now I have one question that I want to ask you in closing. Now, we've got Culture Clash now, and our viewers who are watching tonight are going to read Culture Clash, and then they're going to be hungry for more. When's the next book coming out, Lutie?
Well, the publisher of the Anchor Book Press, we've been talking and talking and talking. So now there are 2 book projects that's gonna happen. And I didn't dream that I will write 2 more books. In fact, she would hope that I will start next month to gather the ideas for the next book. Because now let me tell you, since you opened this topic, Paul, actually my book was supposed to be 7 chapters. And so was my editor when we were, talking over the phone and emailing. Then she told me that, Lutie, chapter 6 does not sync with the first 5 chapters. This chapter 6 needs a topic of its own, a title of its own. I said, well, what do you mean? You claim that your parents are desperate. They won't have time to process this very academic stuff that you are discussing in chapter 6. What time do they have to think academic? Because chapter 6 is about racial identity. I touch on racism. I touch on the Filipino colonized mind, because some of the American children are not exposed to what it means to have a colonized mind. They tell me and they complain in my interview and told me, Tita, my mom and my dad, they are so racist. I said, what do you mean they are racist? Well, they don't want me to bring a black boyfriend in the house. And they just want anything must be white. And so, are they racist that way? And so immediately I said to myself, no, they are not. I don't think they're being racist. Then what are they? So then I introduced how we were colonized by Spain, and then America, and then 3 years in Japan. And so I went on with the chapter 6. I talk about the history of the Philippines, why up to now we're still fighting. Where did Ferdinand Magellan land? En Masao, Butuan, or Limasawa, Leyte? So Carol Pirog then told me that we need to have a separate book about this topic, because it does not sync very well with your first 5 chapters about culture clash. And so then it turned into something gold when she said, you can have another book. I said, okay. And plus, she said, you've already done some research, so you will not be doing a lot because it's just putting them together. I said, okay, so I will do that. And then the second book project, this is what my friends were telling me, and said, Lutie, since you have done culture class with the children, what about writing the culture class that happens among cross-cultural marriages, the intercultural marriages? And I said, oh my goodness, I will start with mine because mine failed. So that's just there in the horizon. So there are 2 books, there are 2 projects.
That's exciting. I can't wait for the next book, Lutie. And I hope that you will allow us to do the book launch for the next book and have the opportunity of hosting you and sharing this. All right, we're gonna ink this as soon as this webinar is over. We're gonna ink this deal so that we can do this again. Thank you so much, Lutie, for sharing your insights with us tonight. We have been blessed. We have all grown. We have all learned. We have gleaned so much from you tonight. And we thank you for your generosity of spirit, because you have shared so much with us. And as a result of your sharing, we're all better. I believe that we are all better because of your sharing.
There's a higher up there that we have to thank.
Amen.
I'm the vessel.
Absolutely.
I'm the vessel.
Amen. We thank God. We certainly thank God. And I want to thank all of our audience for joining us both nationally and internationally. We want to thank all of our friends in the Philippines who joined us tonight, who got up early in the morning.
I know. Yes, they did. Yes.
Very
Thank
grateful.
you for waking up, mga kapinoy, may kababayan.
And we're just grateful to all who joined us tonight, and it's just been a blessing. I want to say again, thank you to Lutie for sharing this with us tonight, for allowing us to be a part of this book launch and the celebration of a new beginning in your life, and a new beginning for all of us who will gain insight and wisdom from reading Culture Clash. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, bottom of my heart, for coming, all of you. So, where did it go?